one, I wanted a chance to demo the Kevyn Aucoin Contour Book 2 with you and show you what it looks like in action. So I did a very simple, it's very simple contouring, and I look pretty much using the contour book for the majority of my face and eyeshadow. The only things I didn't, obviously it doesn't come with foundation and concealer, it doesn't come with a bronzer, so those things I added. And I also added lipstick, blush, eyeliner, and mascara. But highlight, contour, and eyeshadows all came from that little book. So keep on watching and you'll see how I got to this level, this thing here. I already have on my foundation and concealer, and I'm gonna just hop right into the fun part. Because I haven't powdered yet, I'm going to start with the cream part, and I'm going to start with the Sculpting Cream, which is on the bottom here. It's basically the same shade as the Sculpting Powder. It's good to layer, that way start with the cream and then finish with the powder in the same shade. It'll make the makeup last that much longer. So I'm using, what am I using for this? No, I'm not using this. I'm going to use, which brush? I have so many brushes laid out here. This one. This is a MAC 224. It's kind of a, it's an eye brush, but I like that it's small to get in here. And if you don't mind, I will use my little mirror over here. So I'm just dipping that in. And this brush does shed, unfortunately, so there is hair in my new palette. So I just do the usual, suck in the cheeks. Well, you can see the line. Sometimes if you tilt your head down, you can see the shadow better. You start back by your ear, like the little part that sticks out there, and you just follow the line. Now it's gonna look dark, but don't worry, we can blend it out. I'm also making it a little darker so you can see it. And then, you know, it's best to stop when you get to the eyeballs. So that's the first side done. Now I'm gonna do a little bit more, and if you're worried about it getting too dark, you can blend it. Don't worry, I haven't blended yet. You can tap it off on the back of your hand a little bit, and then I like a defined jawline. I especially feel as we get older, this area gets less defined, and this, a saggy neck, shows your age more than almost anything else. So just where the shadow of your jaw is. There. I know this looks odd, don't worry. Been doing this for weeks now. Out in public, nobody said anything. And then a little bit, I'm gonna dab off a little at the back of my hand, a little bit on the hairline just to make the forehead a little more narrow. And bring it down to my temples. Kind of connect it to the top of the contour line there. Now if you want to shade under the tip of your nose to make your nose look a little more narrow, you can do that. I'm just barely touching my nose here. If you want to shade under your lip, make your bottom lip look a little fuller. And that is it for the sculpting part. Now, I'm going to use this brush a little later for the powder part. You can also use, what I would recommend using, but I left it in the bathroom, is the brush you use to apply your foundation to buff it out. But I'm just going to use this. This is a Sephora Pro Airbrush Blush Brush, but it's, see how it's narrow? And I'm just going to use it to blend circles up and out. You don't want it to go down too much. Now in person, you can't even see this anymore. On camera, I know it's picking up quite a lot. It's funny how that works. And I'm just going around the face and softening up those edges. All you want is the hint of the shadow. You don't want to see the stripe. As Lisa Eldridge has famously said, you don't want to look like you have two Snicker bars attached to your cheeks. And then you just bring it down your neck as well, everything that you did here. Now I'm gonna go back with the same brush that I'm brushing off on the back of my hand. I'm gonna go in with the Candlelight Cream, that is the highlight version, and I'm gonna touch it on the tops of my cheekbones. Now for me, I find that this is the not best part of the kit. It doesn't really, the cream doesn't show up all that well on me. That could be because I am very pale and my skin is basically the same color. There's a sheen, but there's not, it's not as dramatic as the Sculpting Powder cream, which if you're a little nervous about highlighting, this actually might be good because it's subtle and this brush is shedding. It's subtle, but it's good to build and it will look good under the powder. And then I'm gonna add a little bit to my Cupid's bow and a little bit in the center right here. I don't know why I do this, but I like to. And now I'm going to powder with, I've been powdering with the Hourglass Ambient Lighting Powder and Diffused Light, except that I forgot my powder brush. I'll be right back. Actually, no I won't. You know what, I'm gonna multi-purpose. I'm gonna use, I brought this brush for highlighting later. It's the Wayne Goss O2 brush. I'm gonna just use it to powder as well. I did go grab another brush. This is from the Coastal Scents Pearl Handled Travel Set that I have been loving. I talk about this all the time. I will link it below. I love this for a bronzer brush. Because I'm using a lot of highlighting here, I'm going with a matte bronzer. The two favorites that I have are the Too Faced Milk Chocolate Soleil bronzer, and unfortunately a ridiculously expensive one, but I like the size of the mirror. It's the Tom Ford bronzer in O2 Terra. Looks like that. I just want to kind of, because I'm going big on the highlight, I don't want too much going on as far as glowy on the face. Otherwise, I would be grabbing my other favorite, which is the Hourglass Ambient Lighting Bronzer in Luminous Light. So big fluffy brush, kind of gonna go over where I did the sculpting and then some. You do not need to do this, but I'm kind of holding on to whatever color I can retain for as long as I can. And I'm actually going over my cheeks, pretty much everywhere, very sloppily and down the neck. Okay, now onto my favorite part, which is the highlighting. So I'm gonna use that O2 Wayne Goss brush. Love this for so many things. I need to buy more of these. They're just the perfect shape. I was very resistant to this line. I don't know why. I thought they were very expensive, but you know what? They're great. These are really nicely made brushes, but they are very expensive, so I'm adding them slowly, like one. So I'm dipping into the Candlelight Powder heavily. This is not a in-your-face kind of highlighter, so if you want that, I recommend the Becca Champagne Pop, the Jaclyn Hill collaboration, or the Mary Luminizer from the Balm, but my favorite everyday go-to highlighter, hands down, is the Kevyn Aucoin Celestial Powder in Candlelight, and I've been talking about that for years. And I'm just going to do that at the top of my cheekbone and kind of up to the eye socket on both sides, of course. And then I like to bring it down a little bit onto the cheek. If you have large pores on your cheeks, do not do this. It will just accentuate it. And then the Cupid's bow. And then in between my eyes, little glow down the tip of my nose there. And then I saw Florida Force do this in a video, and I've done it ever since. A little swirl around each eyelid, which has already been primed, by the way. And that's it for the highlighting. Now when I do add my blush, which will be later, I'm gonna put the blush right on top, and it sort of merges it blends the highlight and the contour and the bronze all together. So it's a layered, blended look. It all pulls it all together. Okay, now on to the eyes. So I did not come up with this all by myself. Luckily, Kevyn Aucoin has supplied this handy dandy little guide. So it says step 1, sculpt with sculpting powder. I like to go in with the Sephora crease brush and just dip it into the sculpting powder. I'm gonna use the little mirror that comes with it. This is very handy. And just go in. Light hand, you can always build. The next step says to layer the Candlelight Powder from lash line to brow bone. So I'm going back with a fluffy brush. This is an Inglot brush, and just dusting that all over. And honestly, you could stop right here, add a little eyeliner, a little mascara. Very simple. The eyes are defined, but it's pretty natural. But you know that I am not gonna stop there. So the next step is to brighten, and using the Brighten Powder, which is really this white eyeshadow down here. So far we've only been using the contouring powders, but this is actually listed as an eyeshadow. And pop that in the corner of your tear duct there, and I like to bring it down a little bit, or out I should say, under the lash line and up a little bit, so that light really catches the white. It also mentions to put it on the brow bone. I don't want a really stark white on the brow bone, so I'm just gonna use a fluffier brush. This is it's an old Sigma brush, but it's basically a MAC 217. And just lightly dust that on the brow bone. And that's even more color really than I want. So I'm going to go back with a blending brush and kind of tone that down a little bit. Now for the pretty part, it's again another highlighting powder. This is called Starlight. It's a kind of a rosy gold pink. It's very pretty, and if you have olive skin tones, this was a great face highlighter. And I'm packing that all over the lid. And then define with Cool Tan to emphasize eye shape on top and bottom lash lines. So you can use a pencil brush for this. I didn't bring one, so again, I'm using the MAC 239, which is probably the world's most versatile brush. Dipping it into Cool Tan and running it along the lash line. And underneath as well. Just on the outer edge. And I also like to darken the outer corner a little bit, so I'm going to go back in with a 217 type 1. And just kind of blend it into the outer corner. And then go back and add a little more Starlight to the center. And that's it. That's everything that I do with the contour book. So I'm gonna go add blush, eyeliner, curl my lashes, and add mascara, and come right back. This is the final look. I just added eyeliner, mascara, and blush. Oh, and lipstick. I'll list everything in the description box below with links. If there's an asterisk next to it, yes, it is an affiliate link, and I thank you ever so much for using it if you choose to do so. If you don't, you can go ahead and Google it or go to the store or whatever. However you want to purchase it. I'm just happy that you're here watching the video. What I really like about this look is it's very versatile. It goes with anything that you're gonna wear, and you can add things to it like a bright lipstick or bright eyeliner or bright blush. And the clock is chiming, so I'm gonna say goodbye. Hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Hey everyone, this is the second most exciting sale of the year. Of course, the first one is the Nordstrom sale. Nothing beats the Nordstrom sale at the end of July. But the next most exciting one for us makeup lovers is the Sephora VIB sale.